This all started a little over a year ago, when my company hired a new supervisor named Evan. On the surface, Evan was the kind of guy who made managers drool. Sharp, confident, articulate, the type who would laugh loudly in meetings like he owned the room. He shook hands too tightly and smiled too widely. Everyone thought he was charismatic. I thought he was dangerous the moment I met him. For context, I'm a systems analyst. Quiet, observant, good at my job, not good at office politics. Before Evan arrived, my team was peaceful, not friendly, necessarily, but cooperative. We trusted each other. We shared knowledge. We solved problems. Then Evan came in with his big ideas and bigger ego. At first it was little things. He took credit for my scripts, interrupted me in meetings, assigned me urgent tasks 5 minutes before the end of the day, then ceased my boss asking for progress updates. Classic power move nonsense. I handled it. I didn't complain. That was my mistake. Because then he escalated. It happened on a Friday. I had spent the whole week building an automation tool that would save our department hundreds of hours every quarter. My manager was excited. He scheduled a demo with the director. I walked into the conference room confident, for once, but Evan beat me there. He was already standing at the front of the room, my code projected on the screen behind him. He greeted me with that too wide smile, one hand raised like he was introducing his creation, and in front of everyone, my manager, the director, the senior leadership team. He walked through the tool as if he had built it. He even used my phrases, my examples, my jokes. After the meeting, my manager pulled me aside. You should really collaborate more with Evan. He clearly knows how to package things. Package things. Right. I went home boiling. Not crying, boiling. Something in me snapped that day. I realized Evan wasn't ambitious or competitive. He was a parasite. And parasites don't stop until you remove them. But I didn't confront him. I didn't send an angry email. I didn't go to HR. I started planning. Some people rage like a wildfire. Loud, fast, out of control. I don't. I'm quiet, patient. I smolder. My revenge didn't start with a grand gesture. It started with observation. I started watching Evan more closely. His habits, his shortcuts, his weak spots. He liked to overpromise and then panic build barely functional code the night before deadlines. He lied to management constantly. Small lies, easy to catch if anyone bothered to look. He used personal devices on the internal network, a huge violation. He bragged about bypassing certain protocols because authorities for people without talent. I documented everything. Not in a vengeful rant Google Doc, no. I built a timeline, a folder, a catalog, screenshots, email headers, server logs, Slack message exports, backup copies of his scripts that contained catastrophic security flaws he claimed to have fixed. All of it true. All of it verifiable. It would have been enough to get him fired. Maybe blacklisted. But that wasn't enough for me. Not after what he stole. The funny thing about revenge is that the deeper you get, the more you start to notice opportunities. They appear like cracks in concrete, tiny at first, then widening the longer you stare at them. My opportunity arrived in the form of a project, a massive system migration that Evan insisted on leading. Management loved the idea. Visionary, they called him. He said he could do it in 3 months. I knew it was impossible in less than 9, but I didn't say a word. I just watched and waited. As the weeks passed, Evan grew visibly stressed. He forgot things, snapped at people, missed bugs that even interns would have caught. And because he had to maintain the illusion of competence, he doubled down instead of asking for help. Perfect. I fed him just enough information to keep him confident, and misled him just enough to ensure he failed. Not sabotage. No, nothing unethical. I simply let him walk into his own traps. I let him assume things incorrectly. I let him skip steps he arrogantly didn't need. I let him ignore warnings because they came from people he thought were beneath him. And I kept documenting. What he didn't know was that the system migration interacted with a legacy module. He claimed he had fully rewritten. He hadn't. He had patched it with duct tape code that was one unexpected input away from an explosion. I discovered this on a Thursday night, and instead of fixing it, I saved the logs, time-stamped everything, and went home. Because the real show was going to happen Friday morning. That's where I'll pause for now. If you want, it'll continue with what happened on that Friday. The day Evan's entire facade collapsed in front of the entire company, and the part where he realized I was behind it. Friday mornings at our company are deceptively calm. People shuffle in half asleep, clutching coffee cups like life preservers, joking about weekend plans. No one expects disasters on a Friday, which is why disasters love Fridays. I came in early that day, not because I needed to, but because I wanted to watch. The system migration's first large-scale test was scheduled for 9 a.m. A big deal. We had the infrastructure manager, the director, 2 team leads, 3 senior engineers, and of course Evan, all gathered in the operations war room. It's a cramped, overheated space with too many monitors and not enough chairs. The tension always sits thick in the air during major deployments. Evan arrived at 8:58, brisk and theatrical, like a man making an entrance on stage. He wore a suit jacket, something he only did when he was trying to impress the upper-ups. He had that smug smile again, the one that stretched too wide, the one that made my jaw clench. I positioned myself against the back wall, quiet, invisible, just another engineer observing. He started his presentation with that fake confidence of his, waving his hands, talking too fast. This migration, he said dramatically, will bring our systems into the modern era. He sounded like a politician selling a miracle cure. Everyone nodded. Nobody questioned him. Why would they? He was the golden boy. Let's run the first test, the director said. And that's when everything began to fall apart. The test started fine. The system initialized. Databases synced. The first few logs rolled through cleanly. Evan gave a smug sideways look at the manager, like a magician expecting applause. Then the warnings started. Yellow flags, then orange, then a red line, the kind that makes your stomach tighten. "Ah, what's that?" one of the senior engineers asked. Evan waved dismissively. Normal latency spikes during first-time initialization. Perfectly expected. But his voice cracked. Just a little. More logs. More errors. The kind that snowball. And then it happened. The legacy module swallowed an unexpected input. The exact scenario I had documented. The system choked, then froze, then spiraled into a cascade failure, so dramatic it looked like a digital avalanche. On the largest monitor, error messages flooded the screen at machine gun speed. Every head in the room whipped toward Evan. "What did you rewrite in the legacy module?" someone asked abruptly. Evan's face drained of color. "Everything. I mean, I refactored it. Optimized. You know." "No," the infrastructure manager said slowly, "because this error shouldn't exist if it was rewritten." I stayed quiet, pretending to study the monitor, but inside, my pulse was steady, controlled. Someone pulled up the commit history. A few clicks, a few scrolls, then silence. Because there it was. Evan's full rewrite was nothing more than a sloppy patch over fragile, outdated code. A duct-taped nightmare. And now the entire migration, a project budgeted in the hundreds of thousands, had crashed because of it. The director finally spoke, voice stiff. "Evan, can you explain this? What happened next is something I will replay in my memory for the rest of my life." Evan snapped. He pointed at me. "It's his fault." I nearly laughed. Everyone stared. "He sabotaged my work, has been undermining me for months." Evan's voice was rising, frantic. "He gave me bad data. He misled me. He's jealous because I'm in charge." It was such a wild accusation that 2 people actually turned around to see if I looked guilty. I didn't. Because I didn't need to defend myself. The evidence would do that for me. The infrastructure manager frowned. That doesn't add up. He wasn't even assigned to your module. The director had it, and the commit history shows you edited the code, not him. Evan sputtered. He manipulated the logs. Funny, because logs don't lie. The room spiraled into controlled chaos. Managers questioning him. Engineers pointing out inconsistencies. Leads digging deeper and finding more evidence of Evan's shortcuts and lies. Half an hour of grilling, and Evan crumbled more every minute. He ran out of excuses fast. By 10:30 a.m., everyone in that room knew the truth. Evan wasn't a visionary. He was an illusionist who finally ran out of smoke. But the moment that truly sealed everything was beautifully simple. The director looked at me and said, "Can you review the logs?" Independent confirmation. I nodded. Walked forward. Pulled up the timeline. Remember that folder I made? The documentation. The evidence. I didn't present it like a dramatic reveal. I didn't need to. I simply pointed out the discrepancies, the shortcuts, the patches, the red flags Evan had ignored. I didn't accuse him. I just explained. Calm. Professional. Factual. The room grew chillingly silent. When I finished, the director turned to Evan. "We'll need you to step out." Evan opened his mouth, then closed it. His face was red, then pale, then nothing at all. He walked out stiffly, like a man heading to his own funeral. The door shut behind him with a soft click. Someone exhaled loudly. The manager finally said what everyone was thinking. "We've been misled by him for months." I shrugged, playing innocent. Some things slipped through the cracks. They believed me. Why wouldn't they? I wasn't the one who had spent months lying, exaggerating, stealing credit. I wasn't the one promising things I couldn't deliver. I wasn't the one with a folder full of self-incriminating evidence. By noon, HR had temporarily suspended Evan pending investigation. By 3 p.m., they had copied my documentation to a secure drive. By 5 p.m., Evan was escorted out of the building. But here's the thing. My revenge didn't end with him being fired. No. Evan tried to drag me down with him. And that meant he hadn't truly learned his lesson yet. I wasn't done. Not even close. When Evan was fired, the whole office seemed to exhale. The tension that had been building for months evaporated almost overnight. People joked, laughed, even whispered about his meltdown, like it was some rare office folklore. By Monday, most of them had already moved on. The way office workers always move on once the spectacle is over. I should have known better. Because Evan wasn't the type to disappear quietly. He wasn't built for acceptance or accountability. He was built for denial, desperation, and delusion. And I discovered exactly how far he was willing to go a week later. When HR summoned me into their lavender-scented office, their expressions told me something was wrong before they said a word. The HR manager folded her hands on the table, a little too carefully, like she was holding something fragile. "Thank you for coming," she said. "We've concluded the initial investigation regarding Evan's conduct." I waited. "But there's a complication." She paused. I hate her pauses. They always mean trouble. "Evan has filed a retaliation complaint. Against you." For a moment I thought I misheard. "Against me?" "Yes. He alleges that you created a hostile work environment, verbally harassed him, and deliberately misled him on key technical components." It was so surreal I almost laughed. "What evidence did he provide?" She hesitated, that terrible HR hesitation that always means you're about to hear something absurd. "He submitted emails and messages that appear to show you insulting him, manipulating documentation, and admitting to sabotaging his work." I sat back slowly. "Then you already know they're forged." "We've begun analyzing metadata," she said. "Some inconsistencies have already appeared, but we're being thorough." Thorough. That meant slow, meaning Evan had bought himself time. Time to twist the story, time to fling mud, time to make someone somewhere doubt. It wasn't fear that hit me first. It was anger, not hot, explosive anger, but something colder, focused, precise, the kind that sharpens everything. I left his office understanding one thing clearly. Evan wasn't just trying to survive. He was trying to take me down with him. So I got to work. Not to frame him. Not to create fake evidence. That was Evan's game, not mine. I did what I always do. Follow the data. Follow the patterns. Follow the mistakes arrogant people always leave behind. He had forged messages. Forged timelines. Fabricated emails. But to forge evidence, you need tools. And tools leave fingerprints. I spent hours digging through his archived folders. The ones it hadn't touched yet, because they were part of the disaster review. Most of it was useless junk. Failed scripts, duplicated files, sloppy test outputs. But buried in one forgotten folder, I found something that stopped me dead. A half-finished Python script. Badly written. Poorly indented. Full of notes to himself. A message generator. A timestamp faker. Header encoding tools. Had been working for months on a system to create fake communications. It wasn't something he cooked up in a panic last week. It was premeditated. A safety net he intended to use whenever he needed to escape blame. The arrogance was breathtaking. I printed it, annotated it, cross-referenced it with his repository timeline. I compared metadata, timestamps, archived backups. Everything lined up. Everything screamed one thing. Evan had been preparing for this long before he was fired. The next morning, I walked straight into the director's office and dropped the printouts on his desk. He didn't interrupt. He just read silently, eyes narrowing more with each line. When he finished, he looked at me with a seriousness I hadn't seen since the migration implosion. HR needs this. There's more, I said, handing him a second sheet. A list of the errors in Evan's forged messages. Mistakes no one but a technical person would notice. Wrong time zone offsets. Email headers that didn't match our internal pattern. Server signatures that hadn't been used in months. The forgers were careful enough to fool someone casual, but not someone who understood the machinery behind them. The director stared at the discrepancies, then whispered, "He really expected this to work. He always expects his lies to work," I said. He stood up abruptly, documents in hand, and left without another word. He called me back the next day. This time the room felt heavier. Tense. The legal consultant sat in the corner, flipping through a folder filled with what I assumed was Evan's forged evidence. The HR manager spoke first. "Thank you for returning. We've reviewed the materials you and the director provided." I waited. The messages Evan submitted have been confirmed as falsified. The metadata suggests deliberate manipulation. Additionally, it appears he attempted to impersonate an internal email address. I nodded once. "His complaint has been dismissed," she said, "and due to the severity of his actions, the matter is being transferred to law enforcement." There was no satisfaction in me, just the end of something that needed to end. I added something about support resources and workplace wellness and legal follow-up. I barely listened. I didn't need comfort. I didn't need acknowledgement. I just needed to go back to work. Life settled. The migration was reassigned to a competent team. The office atmosphere stabilized. People laughed again. 2 months passed quietly, and then one morning in the break room, I overheard someone whisper, "Did you hear? Evan got arrested." Someone else chimed in. Apparently he tried to blame everything on it fraud. The investigators tore his story apart. Another laughed. He even tried to point fingers again. Poor guy still thinks he can talk his way out of reality. I poured my coffee, said nothing, returned to my desk. I didn't celebrate. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't even feel vindicated. I just felt finished. My coworker later asked me how I stayed so calm throughout all of it. I told him the truth. Because Evan was always going to destroy himself. I just made sure he couldn't take anyone down with him. He chuckled like it was a joke, but it wasn't. Sometimes revenge isn't about what you do. Sometimes it's about what you refuse to let someone get away with.